Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where property meets purpose. I'm Talia Hugh.
And I'm Megan Rovers. Together we're here to unpack the real stories behind the people shaping the property industry. From bold first steps to career-defining moments and the life lessons they've built along the way.
If you're passionate about property, curious about the human side of success, or just looking to build something meaningful, you're in the right place.
So let's unpack it. Welcome to Built for This.
Today's guest is one of Australia's most trusted property experts, Bryce Holdaway. You might know him as the co-host of The Property Couch, Australia's #1 property podcast, or from his work on Location Australia and Escape from the City. He's a partner at Empower Wealth, a best-selling author, and someone who's helped thousands of Australians create a life by design through smart, simple investing. Bryce lives in Torquay with his wife Andrea and their 2 boys, and together they've built not just an incredible property portfolio, but a lifestyle that reflects what he teaches: freedom, balance, and purpose. So let's unpack it.
Bryce Holdaway, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.
We are in great company with a professional podcaster, so we are absolutely going to bring the heat today with some questions that we're going to fire away
Bit of pressure,
at
right?
Bryce. Yeah, absolutely. We're feeling the pressure. Tales, how are you feeling?
Yeah, lots of pressure. For those who don't know, we've actually done this before. And we were lucky enough to have Bryce at the office yesterday. So hearing his story, sharing it with everyone, we're really excited to do that. So we really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's a pleasure. The pressure's on me. Don't worry about that. When you build me up like that, it's got to make sure I deliver.
We might have a few extra questions for you just to really, get deep.
Into the nuances. Yeah, bring it on.
Bryce, what never ceases to amaze me about you, the energy that you can bring to every single thing that you do. And you do a lot of, when I say things, you're on TV, you're on a podcast, you're writing books, you're doing so much. I want to hear from you. How do you get that energy? What gives you energy, and how do you maintain that energy for what you do?
I get really focused on, I get almost blindingly focused on something, and then everything else gets washed away. But I think it really comes from just my upbringing, right? I grew up in a middle-class family. I always say on the sort of more conservative, lower end of middle-class family, and and some of those experiences shaped what was important to me. And I felt like I was almost, I want to be respectful in saying this, but almost the wrong side of the tracks. Like I was always just that one suburb further away from my mates or whatever. And so what that did is it built in this this resilience to go, well, that's exactly what I want, not just go after it. So I am self-taught in a lot of stuff. I'm forever grateful that YouTube exists, and my wife calls me a bullet train, and she's a steam train. And over the journey, I've just worked out that that's just the nature of who I am. But I've got this insanely insatiable appetite for business. Part of the reason we were in the office yesterday is because I'm impressed by what you've put together, Megan. You've taken a risk from where you've come from, Shepparton, and being one of those pioneers in the area that you were in, and it just intrigues me. So I'm just fascinated by business. I'm fascinated by my own inadequacies and my own insecurities and how I can overcome them. And so when you combine those 2 things together, it just means that you just have a swing at a few things.
Yeah. And I love that because when it comes to business, I think, and we've spoken about this on the pod, that the first 12 months is like super exciting. It's all the fun stuff. And then it kind of gets really challenging. And then if you are in it for the long haul, then it's kind of the fruits of your labor finally comes. So to be able to then have energy for multiple of, in different phases as well, it must be a constant switch in your mind of, okay, this is a new business, new venture, that's fun. But then I've got this over here, which is paying the bills. So I've got to kind of give everything. How do you, I guess, divide up your week at the moment? What does a week in the life of Bryce look like?
It's funny you say that, because you've caught me in a period of overwhelm, because I've got a lot of change that I'm managing right now. But generally speaking, we're in the real estate world. It's an ideal week. There's certain days that I tend to try and batch what I'm doing and try and get the benefits of doing some forms of deep work. And when I wrote our 3rd book, I just went into this focus usually from 7 till 11 in the morning, and those 4 hours were the equivalent to 10 hours of any other day, because I'd set the environment up in a way that I went onto brain.fm. It's an app. I get in the zone, and then I just go, for these 4 hours, there is no phone, there's no distraction, there's nothing else that I'm going to get involved in. And so it's just those batchings, those ideal weeks, and those getting very intentional about what I want to do, and being able to juggle that. But yeah, there's certain parts of my life where there's established parts of the business. There's other startups that I'm involved with now, managing all of the, I guess the family office that comes with that. But I saw a framework the other day, and I thought it was really a great way to describe when you start in entrepreneurship. You have this idea, this startup phase that you're really excited about, and then you move from that point into the wilderness. And that wilderness is a place where you go, wow, what do I actually do? How do I, if you, like me, there was no part of my family tree that I could tap into to have those conversations. So you're just trying to work stuff out. And then you eventually move into a boutique business phase. And it's at that point where you go boutique, and then you go into the desert, and then you come out of the desert and you'll go into a factory, and then hopefully you'll end up in an enterprise. So there's two sweet spots in that curve, right? One is the lifestyle boutique, and one is the full enterprise value where you get an exit, and you've built systems and process and people and team, and so I've done that. Like in our business, we sold out to a listed company, 20% of our business, and that was an opportunity for me to take some chips off the table. And so I've now gone through that whole journey. I've sold, in the lead up to that, I'd started a couple of businesses when I was over in Perth, and I sold to business partners then, so there was 2 exits there. And then this one was a bigger exit, so that's actually happened. But for me now at my age, the sweet spot is the lifestyle boutique spot, where you're in the 4 to 12 employee range. You've got a full handle on what's going on. There's resources and everything that allows you to seed into your lifestyle by design, but also it gives me an opportunity to sort of mentally activate my, ADHD, for lack of a better word, of just needing to be doing something all the time.
Need to be busy, otherwise you're bored, and that's sometimes a dangerous spot.
Yeah,
probably.
you know it well.
Yeah.
Sounds like
you and I had both been bored because we
Yeah.
start touching things that aren't broken and breaking them.
Yeah.
And I do that a fair bit. I've learned to stop doing that. If it's working fine, just kind of let it go. There's one thing that you just mentioned there. You're in this spot of overwhelm at the moment because of change management. Now, again, resonating with this, I've come in swinging the last quarter of the last quarter of the year, changing things in the business. Don't know if it's the right time of the year to do it, but we've got some resources that we can do some change. What are some, I guess, successful change management stories you've got? What are some strategies? I find it one of the most challenging things to do in a service-based business is change management, because the ripple effects, like whilst I try and foresee what happens, what the next step is, how it's going to affect everyone in the business, I'm learning, but there's still lots to learn about change management for me. What are some of the things that you've learned, and I guess tactics or lessons that you could share?
Yeah, you're asking for a friend?
Yeah, asking for a friend. Just grabbing my notebook out really quickly, being like, so tell me all your secrets.
Yeah. Look, so I'm in the thick of it. So this is just the tactics that I'm in right now. But I've got this mantra of who, not the how. I think that one of my shortcomings is I'll work it out, and whereas
am I looking in the mirror?
yeah, right. So I think that I'm changing from. Here's an example. I'm changing from Google Workspace from Microsoft Word to the Google Workspace. And I've watched a ton of videos on YouTube, right? Self-taught, that's what we do. And then I've just come to the quick realisation that I could probably work it out, but I'll burn 3 months. And so who, not the how. So I've gone and implemented someone else to go and do it for me. So instead of being my heritage tight ass self of, well, I've got to pay for these professionals, and now I'm like, okay, I'm actually paying the money, but I'm buying my time back, which is more important now. So there would be that, would be the biggest one for me. And then for being okay as a close sort of cousin of that is being okay to delegate it and not being in total control of that. So Richard Branson's got this mantra of, have a clear vision, hire A-graders and get out of their way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a bit of that, right? It's like, okay, I've got the vision of what I need it to be. Go and get the people who can do it. And then just don't be the bottleneck. Don't be the person that gets in the way that sort of blocks the progress. So they'd probably be two. And I'm still navigating it now, but from me being a control freak to going, well, let's let some of that go.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I've said it before, but I've consciously, I would be like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're changing. And now I've flipped to why we're changing first and then explaining what we're doing for that, because the why is what people want to know. Why are we changing before I just start saying we're doing this, and this. And then people are kind of like, that's great, but why?
Yeah.
But why?
Because you need their buy-in, right? Because otherwise
100%.
what happens is you have that big conversation and then later on, as soon as it disperses, they go, we'll just keep doing it the way we've always done it.
And then I get cranky in like 6 to 8 weeks being like, why isn't anyone doing it? Or, doing my little checks. And I'm like, well, I didn't explain why it's important and why it's not just good for the business, but it's good for them and the long-term vision. And if you're just telling people to do things without them knowing why we're doing them in the first place, what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
And I think if
might save them a minute a day. What does that matter to them?
Yeah, because they don't think the same as you. They don't have that same, quite often that sort of big vision. But I think it's kind of having a change agent, right? So, for example, in our business, we I told you guys the story yesterday, but just for the benefit of this audience, we needed to help our frontline brand ambassadors improve the conversion on the opportunities that were coming to us, and these were, incredibly warm leads, and but they didn't like the idea of being called sales professionals. And so really what I had to do is go overcome that for a start, and then the second part is I go, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I've just got this little group over here that I'm going to work with, and we're going to test it. We're going to trial it. We use the word trial. And so they go, fine, no problem. So then I find the people that were really eager to jump on board for the vision that I was trying to create. And then the rest of those who don't like change, they can keep doing what they're doing. And so what that means is it becomes an over-the-fence scenario that works in your favour, because if I work with this crew here and we're actually lifting up conversion, we're having better conversations, they're enjoying the process better, it doesn't feel like convincing anymore, it feels like persuasion, all those sorts of things. And on the scoreboard, everyone can look over the fence and going, what's going on over there? All of a sudden, it's not an idea that I've come back from a conference thinking it's an amazing thing to do. I've actually got tangible results on the table. And then by nature, everyone goes, well, how do I get a bit of that? I'm like, oh, okay. Now that you've asked, and which is the intention to get everyone on the same page as well. So it's kind of just having, if the process allows you to have a breakaway to prove concept, that's also a wonderful opportunity to manage the change.
Tals, we went for a walk this morning and I said, Tals, when you started with us, I would say something and Tals would do it. And the challenge now, it's like, well, I'm now in the position where I'm not doing what they're doing. So it's do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah.
But that's a great way to kind of combat that, being like, hey, look, these people are doing it and it's working for them. Rather than, okay, because my thing today was like, maybe I should just do it myself and then show that it works and then they'll do it. But that's exactly what you're doing without me getting back on the tools and in the weeds.
You've got to stack the pain, right? So if the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same, nothing happens, right? So what we've just described is all of a sudden, if we show an example where you not changing actually stacks the pain, that the pain of change, pain of staying the same is now greater than the pain of change, all of a sudden human nature just kicks in and you ultimately get what you want through letting them sort of set the agenda or set the path that they want to follow is probably a better way to say it.
I was going to say the other thing, like I've absolutely tipped Tales' system on its head this week, and we had this kind of staggered. We had people trialing what we were changing in the business, and then we had this staggered rollout this week. But it turned out the system wouldn't let us stagger it, so it was just everyone was cut off in one day,
which is probably the best way. Well, in hindsight, because I was one of the ones that was sort of testing it, but I'm like, I've still got access to the other one, so maybe I haven't been in a habit. I've been trying to process as much as I can, but now that it's actually gone, I'm like, okay, we genuinely cannot access this, so we need it changed. So, yeah, it's been interesting, but it's good. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully we'll report back next year.
I think change can just scare a lot of people is all.
Yeah. One thing you said before about the boutique business versus the enterprise business. One thing that I see more and more common, and maybe more and more common in our industry, being the property industry, is everyone has this perception, not everyone, that's generalisation.
Yeah.
Most people have the perception that bigger is better.
Yeah.
But what you're kind of saying is there's a sweet spot where if you don't get bigger, sometimes you can be just as profitable with that. So as an example, people will say like, oh, we've grown our property management business by 500 properties in the last 2 years. The next part of the story is like, yeah, but are you more profitable? Like, because we could grow that quickly as well, but it's going to cost money to do that. Is the idea of you liking that boutique kind of business at the moment, is it a little bit to do with that, or is it just that's the kind of space that you want to work in at the moment? Or is it just like you've done the enterprise, you know what is required from that, and you're just happy with if we can make something work at that size, that's exactly what we want for the businesses you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've reflected on that a lot because in the early part of my career, I just wanted to be bigger, but with no definition of why. And it was just a compensation strategy for insecurities and inadequacies, right? The bigger we are. But there's a book called From Barista to Billionaire. I think it's Andrew Wilkinson. And he defined it beautifully in his book where he says, guess how much net worth is enough for people? And I'm like, okay, that's good. And he goes, exactly double what you've got now. So if you're worth 2 million, your ideal net worth is 4. If you're worth 100 billion, your ideal net worth is 200 billion. So the problem is, every time we reach that milestone, our ideal net worth just automatically doubles. So you're chasing a rainbow. So there's no end game on that. It's just continue. So at the expense of health, burnout, relationships. Oh, my kids didn't see me. All that sort of stuff, right? So now I've turned 50 and I've reflected on that a lot. And so I think that in Australia, if you live in Australia, I think you're better off being worth 10 million than you are being worth $1 billion. Because ask a billionaire to clear their schedule for 2 weeks to go on a holiday, it's almost impossible at short notice. So is it more money or is it more access to your time? Because I think happiness is a formula of independence and purpose. And that independence, there's an element of that is financial independence, let's be honest. But I want location independence. I want time independence. I want to work with who I want, when I want, for as long as I want. So I've just redefined what's important. So if you go for a lifestyle boutique, you're probably not going to sell that business to anyone because that business is largely you're the face of it. You're the founder, you're the front face, and if someone wants to buy it, you typically want to exit, so they're not going to buy it because the business is you. But if you've got purpose in that business and you've got independence in that business and it's providing really strong cash flows to fund your lifestyle that allows you to, for me, the lifestyle boutique that I'm moving towards now is needing a laptop and an internet connection and geography agnostic. So then I can be in any time zone, any location, anywhere I want to be. So versus the enterprise, and some people are just built and wired for that. They just love it. That's their thing. But be careful what you ask for, right? Yeah. Because I promise you, when you're building, we've got 133 staff in the business, and it takes a lot of time and energy and effort and long weekends and thinking about stuff and going to put your head on the pillow on a Friday night going, no bad news this week, which is good. And then, having to move into a constant whitewater, business is constant whitewater. And I think when we're early on in our entrepreneur career, we think there's going to be elements of clear water, and there's not. There's never elements of clear water. It's always whitewater, and your job is to stay out of the rough surf as the leader and the entrepreneur. So I just want that whitewater to be less foamy. Which is why the lifestyle boutique. But I think experience is that thing. Experience is the thing you get 2 minutes after you need it, right? I needed to scratch the itch on building the big enterprise to realise that I'm not sure that's probably knowing what I know, if I went back and did it again. So for you, Megan, I would challenge you to say, well, you've built a really impressive business. So and you have this fork in the road and you go, do I want to make it 10x better, or do I want to make it 2x better, and I still get access to, you're a parent of a young child. So those moments you can't get back. I was insanely busy, tired, and probably too grumpy when my kids were really young, and I don't have too many regrets, but that's one of them.
Yeah. I feel like it's always time, isn't it? It's always like you've got to balance that time, and you've got to make sure. And hearing it from you in hindsight is obviously one of the the best reflections that we can have is hindsight of you had that, you wanted that, and then you kind of got there and was at the destination you wanted. And like,
I had a little crisis around that. Like, to be honest, I got there and went, I'm feeling empty. Being true. That's what happened. So hence I went on a bit of a discovery and a bit of an intentional think about this. So I have thought about it a lot, but another European car. I don't drive a European car, but another European car. It's going to be exciting for a couple of weeks, but then that fades.
It's exactly what Megan says, because I just recently bought one.
Yeah,
I was like, that'll be fun for you for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm still loving it 2 months later. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Well, the good news is,
but I get it.
Megan's a country girl, so she keeps it simple. Yeah,
as simple as I possibly can. Yeah. But it is so interesting because I guess. Like, I love speaking to people like you who have this experience. I'm at that fork in a road now where multiple businesses, some, we've got growth phases for, some I'm like, okay, well, we've had a big growth phase. Where do you go with this? And fortunately, it's from talking to people and I guess challenging the thoughts and then having people challenge me going, is that really what you want? Because sometimes I was just in this, like, let's just grow, let's get bigger, let's keep doing this without really realizing why. And I 100% think that I would have got to that destination and gone, what
next?
Yeah, I'm lost. I followed this roadmap that I thought was the right road, and then I got to the destination and was like, this isn't necessarily what I want. And you're right, with a young daughter now, that I'm really really reassessing that even more so, hoping that when I do look back in hindsight, that I'm like, okay, I was present enough, I'm got the balance right, and what I have is enough. Because I always, and this is probably one of my detriments, is our teams could be performing amazing, but I'm like, we need more. Like we can still do more. There's still left on the table, and it's just one of those things. I think I'm overly competitive, so I'm always like, we can be better. Everyone can always be better. And I genuinely want that for people, but then it's how do you balance that with just enjoy the moment, smell the roses for for a cliche saying. Well,
we talked about this last time, but that apparently that audio doesn't exist anymore. So, but I'll try and do this on the shortest version, right? But we ultimately have, we as humans, males and females, we have a reference to I think I might have said it last time. Imagine you've got an iPhone 17 and you're running iPhone 4 software on that iPhone 17. That's effectively what every human is doing right now, unless they've done the work, right? Because when we were younger, usually up to the age of 5, we are trying to work out the world in reference to our mum and dad, right? So the goal of just sort of evolutionary, right? Our mum is to show us that we have a heart, and our dad's job is to take us to the highest hill and show the world that heart, right? That's acknowledgement from dad, nurture from mum. At its simplest, and I know different scenarios for different people, but that essentially is the primal need for most humans. And if for whatever reason you didn't have perfect parents, and I'm a parent, and I promise you I'm putting a fund aside so my kids can have their psychology bills for all the damage that I've given them, right? So I'm the first to say that I'm not a perfect parent. My parents weren't perfect parents. They're perfect. So ultimately what we do is we just enter into these compensation strategies of going, well, in order to get acknowledgement, I better go and get bigger, better, more. And in order to be nurtured, I better go and people please or get a lot of people around me, or we just do all these strategies. But once we actually go, there is a true nature and purpose that we all have, and yours is different to mine. But we go, and if we actually just let go of all that baggage and go, my true nature and purpose is to help people get from where they are to where they want to be, right? And then I want to actually do that within business so that I can help people make more money, so that they can ultimately park it in property, because it's another passion of mine. And then when they create wealth, they will have resources to come and say, Bryce, let's go and do some stuff. Now, for the people who want to use those resources to do egoic things, cars and houses and Instagram shots, I'm not attracted to those people. They're not attracted to me. I'm attracted to the people who go, hey, listen, I've got enough left over after making sure my family's okay. What can we go and do with it? And I'll go, cool, let's go and earlier this year, for my 50th, I took 27 people over to Bali. You guys might remember this from the last conversation.
Dive into it because I love this story.
Yes.
I love it.
I do too, right? Which is why I love telling a story. But my wife said, what do you want to do for your 50th? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't want to have a party. She goes, think about it. Fast forward to the May this year. We took 27 people over, part of them from my own personal family and friends network, part of them from the podcast community, merged these two groups together, and we set a goal to raise $50,000, and we raised $75,000. 362 people got their eyesight back. I can promise you that is the best feeling ever. No European car will beat that, I promise you. And so now, and then I was in Africa in July. We helped some people. There was an orphanage. I know this sounds cliche. There was an orphanage that we went to, and there was a water tank that was stuffed. So we got some people to pull resources. We fixed that one. We got a second one as a backup. Then I was in the Philippines in September. We're involved with Destiny Rescue, which is the child trafficking organisation, and they took us into that world. I'm like, woof. So, and they need money, right? So imagine if you could just help people on that journey. It might help people get from where they are to where they want to be. If I channel that into business, then they can park their money in property. They create this wealth, and then we go, whoa, let's go. There's people who need eyes over here. There's kids who are in trafficking over here. There's some water wells to go. And I just think that will absolutely light me up. And then so that's effectively what I'll spend all my time and energy on in the next decade, just attracting those people into my world.
How good's that? And it still gives me goosebumps every time you say that, because you say it as if like, yeah, we gave this many people their eyesight back, but it's like seeing that, like, and sorry, that's a little bit pardon the pun, but like seeing that surely is just life-changing for you, and you took your kids along.
I had my son we're in these two mobile vans. I had my youngest son next to me. My wife had my eldest son next to her, and we're just watching up on the screen. And these cataract surgeries, they take no time at all, and it costs $100. Someone can get their eyesight back for $100. So I said to the boys, have a look up there. Do you remember last week when we were back home in Torquay and we went and got some pizzas for dinner? That cost us about $95 for the family. That person got their eyesight back for the equivalent of that, and we connected that. And so they saw that.
Value of a dollar.
Perspective, yeah.
It was amazing. So, look, so like, can a billionaire do that? Like, can they carve up their diary in such a way that they can go and do that? Probably not. They have the resources, but not the time. And so therefore, so I've just reflected on that a lot, to be honest.
Sorry,
you go.
It's probably one thing that I've been thinking about a little bit, and the more people we talk to about this, and this is a great example of it, is you've touched on a little bit about how some adversity, some insecurities has ultimately probably attributed to you being so successful. Now, I'm not saying your kids, and this is just generalizing, have any of those, but given that they have what you maybe didn't have as a kid, do you feel like these are the types of lessons that you're obliged to show them to be able to make sure that they have, I'm not saying that they don't have ambition or anything like that, but have ambition, have, that there's no glass ceiling above them, like have the, I guess, want to grow and to be, something bigger than what they think that they can be. Like it sounds like for you that came from insecurities, living on the wrong side of the rail tracks, so to speak. How do you feel like you're teaching your kids that lesson? Are these the types of things that you think you're providing that platform for them?
1,000%. And I'm just human like everyone. I'm just having a swing at this parenting thing, and I reckon I've got a few wins and a few losses, so I reckon I'm about even. But I think about that a fair bit of late, because I think about when I was a kid growing up, my dad, his whole focus was making sure that he paid his house off as quickly as possible. Like everything went towards that, and so we never went to. Like going to Hungry Jack's on once a month was like, this is amazing, right? Whereas my kids get a few different opportunities. Like, I do think about that a lot, because I think when I was growing up, Dad got some reticulation out the front of the house, right? I was excited. The anticipation of him getting reticulation out the front of the house was amazing. And like, when I think about it, I'm like, why was I excited about reticulation? But it was just learning anticipation. There's something coming. We've got to work towards it. And I do wonder how I do that with my own kids, because they go, oh, can we just go to, like, you know, can we drop into Hungry Jack's on the way home? I'm like, mate, we've got dinner at home. Like, so, and my wife, I think my wife would say I'm probably, you know,
sure, let's go to Hungry Jack's.
No, I'm the other way. I grew up in the 70s, boys. We never, you know, so.
Back in my day.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got eggs on toast at home.
So I don't reckon I'm great at that. So I don't think I've got too much amazing advice, other than that was a big driver for them to go and see that. And because I do wonder what the spark is going to be for them, given that life's pretty comfortable for them.
Yeah, and I hope that came at the question. I wanted to ask the question. Hopefully, it came across without insinuating that was.
I think it's bang on. Like, take me out of the equation. If you've got a kid who, like, my kids have been to Italy. They've been on 3 Greek islands. They've been to Universal World in Singapore. Like that. I went to Italy for the first time in my 40s, not in my teens, right? So I think about it a lot. But if someone's got some advice for me, they should reach out to me, because I reckon I tell you where I have pivoted. When I was building the property portfolio, I'm like, oh, I'm going to pass this on to the kids. I'm not anymore. I'm not. I'm actually going to help them buy their first home, and that's it. I will have 1,000 conversations with them, and they can pick my brain, but they aren't getting the keys to the kingdom. They are. I mean.
If they're listening, they're going to be like, damn it.
No, well, but I've changed. Like, I was, this has only been a change in the last few years, to be honest, where I've matured in that, because I'm thinking, you've got a daughter. When she gets her P plates, will you give her a Lamborghini?
No, definitely not. And this is something that we, like my little sisters here, we discuss. Our dad made us save for half our car, and you know, that was something that we would all focus on as kids growing up, was like, whatever you save, I'll match for $1.
Yeah.
And I still think about that and go, if you want a better car, you save more, and I'm happy to contribute more. So it's like rewarding that right thinking, that right behaviour. So even though they obviously had the money in the reserve of, okay, if I save $8,000, dad and mum will contribute $8,000. So I could have got a car just with their contribution, but that wasn't the point. I didn't get the $8,000 until I contributed to that as well. So those types of lessons, I'm like, I get it now. Yeah. I actually get why that was the principle, where you don't just get what you want.
Yeah.
And they used to always say to us, well, I'd say, can I have this? And they say, well, do you want it or do you need it? I'm like, and I'd always be like, I need it. And they're like, you don't need it, you want it. And then, you know, and then in 2 weeks' time, I'd forgotten that we'd even asked for it to a certain degree. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And, you know, to build a business or to build wealth or whatever it might be, to then think about handing it down. It's like, well, what's more important, the legacy you leave, like the lessons that you can pass on, or the money that you can pass on? And I think for a lot of people, it's about like, well, I want to set my kids up for what though?
But for
like,
what?
It's about the lessons maybe that are 100%. More important. Like they're going to remember those, that lesson of saving for the first car. I don't have that car anymore, but it's a lesson that stayed. It's not the actual asset that stayed with me. So in a roundabout way, I get that. I think you're onto it.
Well, do you know when the chicken's pecking out of the shell, if you go and help that chicken get out of the shell, they will not live for long. They actually need the struggle of getting out of the shell to actually set them up for life. And so it's the metaphor for your kids. And I agree that like you think about some of the lessons. Okay, think of it this way. I just interviewed someone on our summer series on the podcast. And she is really struggling with money management now. And so I had a relationship with her on the podcast. We could go a little deeper. And ultimately what it came down to was she was given a lot as a kid. And so a little bit of a princess. And then in adult life was really, really struggling with that because there was no one just to give her money anymore. She had to adapt. And So that I reckon I didn't have that. I had the opposite. I had the struggle, and I packed my own way out of the shell. But I imagine if someone had given me a lot of stuff when I was a kid, and then the stark realities of adulting really hit, that'd be a big drop.
And we've got the Christmas edition happening here with the Christmas tree in the background. And I feel like it's the time of the year that these things come into everyone's minds, because it's like, well, yes, we could buy these presents, but then what? Like, do we need all these presents? Is it the quantity? Is it the quality? Is it, or is it better to go, okay, well, how about, yes, you can have a new toy, but you've got to give a toy up. Or how about, yes, we'll give one present, but we've got to give, people that don't have presents under their tree. Those principles, I feel like people, if they're time poor, billionaires, who are time poor, may forget to pass on these lessons. So yes, they'll pass on lots of money.
Yeah. Well, billionaires' kids are being raised by usually other people. Yeah.
And the lessons just probably aren't there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. It's got me reflecting as well on my upbringing, because I won't say that I had it hard, but I had similar things like, do you really need it or do you want it? I remember begging my parents for this little mini toy laptop. It was in the magazine and I circled it and I was like, I really want that for my birthday. And they were like, absolutely not. Like, no. And I was like, but it's $120. All you need is $100 note and $20 note. Like, I just did not understand the concept of how much money that actually was. And I think just growing up, again, like my mum and dad were very supportive, especially my mum, but she almost was supportive when it got too hard for me and she had to help me out of that. So I think I'm actually struggling with money management because I've always just been like, oh, if I can't do it, I'll just have a chat with mum, I'll beg her and she'll, exactly. And she's gotten me out of the trenches. But you're right, like I just don't think we learn those skills young enough. And it's like, who do you lean to if your parents aren't quite, because not everyone knows how to teach their kids how to manage money. That's probably one thing that at the moment I'm really trying to work through. What would you recommend? Like, the lady that you were saying with the podcast, I'm not saying I was a princess, but I'm going through those struggles. Like, what are some tips that for those people?
Yeah.
This is essentially we're just using YouTube.
Yeah, I know. This is
to get all our skills. Thank you.
I'll get to return serve shortly.
Got so much knowledge.
Yeah.
I think yes. So money is simple. Behavior is hard. Right. Money is simple. Behavior is hard, and behavior comes from all sorts of beliefs that you've built over time around. If you got a 20-cent piece when you're a kid and you put it in your mouth, they go, oh no, money's dirty. You might have heard a message that money's dirty, so you will do everything to self-sabotage. Or there might have been someone around the corner who had a lot of money, and your parents might have had a throwaway line that, oh, they're just really bad people. And you will build all these stories about what money means. So money's simple. Behavior is hard. So that's the first thing for us to understand what our money story is. Secondly, simple money management isn't that hard, right? The biggest problem we have now is no one really knows what to. My parents will give the kids $50 or $100 in a card for Christmas, and they just look at me and they just hand it to me. They go, can you just put that into my Spriggy account for me? Like, they don't know how to transact with the money. So to think that my grandparents used to have the flower jar system where they'd get a yellow pay packet and they'd pull the cash out and they'd allocate some into those flower jars. Now we've got to do it digitally, right? So, and it's pretty simple to do. So what we recommend someone do is look at your 12 months and work out what are the things that I need to provide for over 12 months. Car insurance, all stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've obviously so they're called provisions. So in this month, you're not going to pay the whole amount. You might pay a monthly amount, or you might go nothing premium, right? So we just got to think about that for a start. So the way we do that is for those people with a mortgage, you just have an offset account, right? And you put every single bit of money that you get into that offset account. If you get wages, if you get business income, if you get gifts from grandma, you get dividends, rental from your rental, everything just goes, that's financial HQ, right? That's headquarters. But when you get paid, that's not your money, because it's got to get allocated to other stuff. So first of all, the big paradigm shift is when I get paid on Thursday, That amount that goes into my bank account, that's not all my money. First shift. Then the second shift you do is, okay, if that's my financial HQ, then I need a 7-day float, right? Which for us is a debit card, because a debit card is your money. It's not a credit card, which is the bank's money. So we get a debit card where every Thursday, let's say you need, let's project for the next 7 days, you need some money for a coffee, you need some money to go to Pilates, you need some money for the groceries, you need some money for fuel, right? You'll work out this 7-day float that's pretty consistent all year round. So what you do is from your financial HQ, your offset account, now if you don't have a mortgage, it's just a high interest savings account, right? But your financial HQ, you automatically pay yourself on a Thursday, right? My wife and I have been doing this for a decade. We pay ourselves on a Thursday into our debit cards, and that's our 7-day float. We just spend that money. We don't have to account for it. We don't have to micromanage it. We don't have to go put it on that spreadsheet. Those 7 days, my only job is to make sure it lasts until next Thursday. That's it. It's the only job you need to do. So then I don't have to micromanage it, because the problem with budgets is they don't work because they fail at the point where it matters the most. When I'm about to go down to IGA here in Barwon Heads and I tap, my budget is nowhere to be seen. And that's the problem, the disconnect between the idealism. So James Clear wrote a book called Atomic Habits. He says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So you have to have a financial system in place that you fall to. So that when I'm tapping, I've got a bank app that says I've got $73 left in it, and I also go, it's Tuesday, and I've got to make this last until Thursday. I go, actually, I'm not going to tap. I'm going to put that back. I'm going to go home and I'm going to open the pantry and go, oh, actually, I can pull a meal together. I can actually make it work, because I've got to make it last 48 hours. And then on Thursday, my 7-day flow to get topped up again. That's the system that we run with. And then I've got investment properties. So I have loans. They automatically get debited out of my financial HQ, which is my offset account. So those loans happen on autopilot. Don't have to think about it. My money that I can spend each week happens on autopilot. Don't have to think about it. And for the people who are at least moderately disciplined or better, you get a credit card, right? And on that credit card, you put all your bills on it. So my internet, my mobile phone, all of the stuff that is just routine bills, I pay for it on my credit card. Why? Because I get up to 55 days interest-free on that credit card. And guess what? I do not leave that to chance on making sure that credit card bill gets paid on its due date. I ring the bank, I go online to my and I say, I want this credit card directly debited, paid on the due date every single time out of financial HQ. So I've just showed you how to automate your life. Your loans get paid on autopilot. Your credit card, if you are a good money manager or better, is on credit card. If you're a poor money manager, take the credit card out. It's too dangerous. And just get direct debit straight out of financial HQ. And then you do your 7-day float on your money. Then guess what? Your budget at the end of the month, you look at it and then you look in your offset and your account and you go, actually, this is pretty close. Because you had a system that underpinned the budget actually being achieved. Otherwise, people use the credit card for discretionary spend, and that is the biggest wealth denier in anyone, is tap and go. We don't waste money on buying a big screen TV accidentally. We waste money $17 here, $35 there, $6 here, $17 there. That's where your money's gone. That's where the slippage is. And if you are able to trap surplus, you've got two choices with surplus. You can spend it on lifestyle now, or you can do a little bit on lifestyle now and you can put a little bit away for tomorrow. And for me, clearly that's buying investment properties so that you build the overall wealth base. That is a very simple system. Remember, money is simple, behaviour is hard. So we've got to hack the behaviour. We've got to hack the behaviour. Why are you two giggling?
My behaviour is shocking. So this is what I need to hear.
Yeah. So we wrote a book, Make Money Simple Again. There's a diagram in that book that shows exactly what we just said. Okay. But there's no 17 accounts. There's no micromanaging every dollar.
That's what overwhelms me, because I'm like, oh, everyone's saying have this account for this and this, and I'm just like, too hard.
No, all you do is say your financial HQ has 10 grand in it. You just have a little spreadsheet over here that says that 10 grand is for this, 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 and this. there's 10 grand. Simple.
And you just know it's coming out.
Just know it's coming out. But the biggest shift, even if everything we just said is too overwhelming, the biggest shift is when your money goes into financial HQ, you didn't get paid then, because that's got to cover a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. The only time you get paid is when the money goes into your living and lifestyle account for the 7-day float. Because in that financial HQ, you've provisioned for a holiday. You've provisioned for Christmas presents. You've provisioned for Mother's Day presents. All that stuff's in there. So that will sort itself out if you just focus on, my bank app says that I've got $23 left. The reason you get paid on Thursday is this. Of the 7 days, when is the most transaction heavy 2 days of the 7? It's Saturday and Sunday, maybe Friday night. Mm-hmm. So that's why you get paid on Thursday. And if you have a big weekend, right, and you open your bank account on a Monday and you go, oh, I don't have a lot left. You go, that's right. So it's now time to just get creative. Go into the pantry and get it done. But what most people do is, if they don't have that simple system we just described, they just hit the credit card, tap, 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 or the undisciplined might go back to the well and just keep topping it up. But that system means you cannot unconsciously overspend. You can consciously overspend, but you cannot unconsciously overspend. So you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You just create a very, very simple system to make sure that you hack human behaviour.
I might be speaking on behalf of you here, Tals, but this is definitely something. So I've had a financial advisor for maybe like 10 years, and every year he asks for my goals. And only last year was I able to actually give him realistic goals. Like, I think 5 years ago I said I want to get my helicopter license. Like, that's where I was at, because I was like, I don't know what I want. And do you feel that because you don't necessarily have that longer term goal, the short term satisfaction of spending?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't really impact. So as an example, one of our new goals is when it comes to the choice of a secondary school for Scarlett, we want to have a choice of which school she goes to. We don't want money to dictate where that is. So that's our savings goal now. So then I know that if I overspend or take money from HQ, that I'm not just taking it from HQ, I'm taking it from that opportunity in the future. Now, we might not even spend that money in the future because we might just go to the local public secondary college, or we might go to a private one. We want to have that opportunity. But it's only been now that I've kind of realised that that's a goal that I should be thinking about today for 10 years' time. Whereas, a helicopter license is just kind of like, I'm just giving goals for the sake of giving goals. And I think that's the that it's hard sometimes to think about it. And it's probably the whole superannuation thing that I think up until maybe recently I was like, super whatever, like it doesn't really matter. But I'm like, kind of does. Like it really does. But it for 10 years, 15 years I've been working, and the super, I didn't even know how to even find out how much I had in super for a long period of time, because it feels so far away and the behaviour is so tempting to just spend that money. Now we've got it, we've earned it. It was a big week. I've worked hard. I made an extra sale. I'm above my goals. It's easy to spend it. Yeah. So easy to spend it, and so hard to think about that far in advance, I think. Yeah. Am I preaching to the choir?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Morgan Housel wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. I think he's a fascinating author. Have you come across that book?
I reckon I've started it, yeah. I seem to start, my Kindle is full of 36% read books.
Half read's book disease. I've got some of that. But here's this concept, which I think is, remember about stacking the pain? If the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same, nothing will change. So you've got to find ways to stack pain in your mind so that the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same, right? So one of his techniques is that for every dollar you save, it's a dollar towards your independence, right? So to your point before, your independence is important to being able to choose schools. Your independence might be at some point in time you wanting to be in control of your own time. So if you do even just some basic painstaking around saving this $10, saving this $100, saving this $1,000 is just a little investment, a further investment in my independence. Again, money is simple, behaviour is hard. You've got to find these ways to hack in your own mind, because there's a proverb that says, and I'll butcher it, but he without a vision will perish, right? And that's the problem with a lot of people with money. There's not a big enough vision to keep them going on their North Star. So Avril Lavigne, we just run around chasing temporary highs, right? So, just think of it as another little seed into your independence. Like, oh, yeah, I want that. And for some people, they go, I've only got $1,000. Well, if you get a dental bill that you weren't planning for and you didn't have that $1,000, your independence is very challenged at that point in time. But then the 1,000 becomes 10, becomes 100, and obviously for me, my core is helping people go, why don't we allocate some of that that surplus to creating long-term independence around leveraging and buying assets and building wealth over the journey.
Given that is your passion and you know something that you've been obviously very successful in advising people on for a long period of time, do you think that a lot of people have the belief that they don't have enough to do it, or they don't have the capacity to buy the property? And you've obviously written a book, which I'm perfect segue for you to speak about that a little bit, about, you know, how much you actually need and that property isn't probably as maybe complicated as people make it, and you obviously have an amazing team that makes it easier for people. Do you think it's a misconception or something that people don't know until they're exposed to listening to you, reading about you, or speaking with you?
I think it's a psychology thing. Money's simple, behaviour is hard. So let's unpack the behaviour is hard a little bit further. There's a book that I think that every person should read if they're interested in money, and it's called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Have you guys read that?
I think again it's in my Kindle.
No,
I reckon I'm actually further along in that one. I reckon I'm going to guess 58%.
Rich Dad Poor Dad is as important to financial management as the Bible is to someone who believes in Christianity. It's that foundational. So, but he wrote a second book called Cash Flow Quadrant, which is basically, if you can imagine a 4 quadrant, top left corner is an E, bottom left corner is an S, top right corner is a B, bottom right corner is an I. So E stands for employee, S stands for self-employed, top right is B is for business owner, bottom right I for investor. The goal is to get from the left to the right. The left is active income, the right is passive income. Now, the problem with that is most people are E's, employees, right? And so what's the language of an E? The language of an E is security. Fear. So security is everything to an E. What's the language of an S? Control. They usually go from an E to an S because they don't want a boss telling them what to do, but they want the control, right? But the problem is they've just become the creator of their own job, right? So they still don't have freedom. What's the language on the right? Freedom. Now, the problem is you're preaching freedom language to someone who is indoctrinated in security language. And therein lies the challenge of money is simple, behaviour is hard. If you've spent your whole life chasing a job and getting security, if the system is designed to reinforce that, you go to school. School is an industrial age. What happened is there was a bunch of people who were ploughing fields, and all of a sudden the tractor came along and replaced 98 of them. Only 2 need to drive the tractor. So they said, we need to redirect those 98 people who used to work ploughing the fields. We need them to come and work in our factories. So can you teach them how to work in our factory? So the schooling system that our kids operate in now is an industrial age idea. So they're teaching them how to get a job in a factory. Guess what? Those jobs don't exist anymore. But the problem is schooling teaches you to be an E. Business teaches you to be an E. Everyone wants you to be an E, including the business owners, because they want to employ the E's. So therefore, all of the language is around fear and security. And I'm saying to people, you should buy an investment property. And they go, that means I've got to take on more debt. I go, that's right. But let me tell you about the big picture. They go, but my language is security, and you've just thrown me into overwhelm and fear because my world is about controlling everything and not sort of, I get paid every Thursday. The company pays my super for me. I don't have to, it's all done for me. That makes me feel secure. I think everyone should buy at least 2 investment properties. Combine that with your super and 2 investment properties. I promise you $3,000 a week is available for most people, which is the topic of our book. But I told you the story yesterday when I saw Jan Summers on the midday show with Ray Martin back in the 90s, saying, if you buy an investment property, the tenant and the taxman will pay most, if not all, of your bills. And I just went, does everyone know about this? This must be a secret, because if everyone knew about this, why wouldn't everyone do it? Because money is simple, behaviour is hard. And I soon learnt, I spent the last 30 years, 25 years of my career trying to help people with the behaviour side, because it's simple. Keep doing what you're doing, create a North Star, keep paying super, that's going to happen anyway, and buy 2 investment properties, and I promise you, you'll have lifestyle by design that's better than a billionaire, because you'll be in control of your time, you'll be in control of your energy, you'll be in control of who you can do things with. But that's undoing a ton of psychological stuff that we learn. Remember, money's dirty, then we indoctrinate you to be an E. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that people need to overcome.
What a message. That is awesome. And I feel like that is an amazing way to end this episode with you, Bryce. And we're so thankful that you've come along again to share even more. And for us, I think selfishly, we kind of had some questions up our sleeves that we really wanted to pick your brain on, because, I think, you interview a lot of amazing people. You have amazing chats online. But, for you to take the time today to come and speak to us, we really appreciate that. Now, let's finish with 2 rapid fire questions. We won't ask the same as what we usually ask, because you've already been asked those ones, so we already know the answer for those.
Good news for you is I've forgotten what they were.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I actually have forgotten your answer, because I reckon there's 2 options that I've got in mind. What's your favourite holiday destination you go to that if time wasn't the plane is whether it's 24 hours or an hour, it's always going to be an hour. What's your favourite holiday destination?
Italy.
Yeah, see, I was like, it's either Italy or Greece, and I can't remember because they're my favourites, and I'm like, which one? Which one is it?
Well, the answer is, in my current stage of life, Greece, because we went to Italy with the kids last European summer, and Andrew and I just love Italy. We live in Torquay. We're going to spend, once our kids have flown the coop, we will spend Southern Hemisphere winters in the Northern Hemisphere in
goals
in Italy.
Yeah,
but my kids, like, we're going through Rome, and then we're in Lake Garda, and they're in Venice, and they're like, "Can we just go to the beach, Dad?" So that's why Greek islands are for the stage of life that I'm at. But if it was just me and Andy, Italy, yeah,
best.
Beautiful. And what is one thing that you can't go without every day, if anything?
Yeah, now I do remember these questions. But, well, my AirPods. I can't go anywhere without the AirPods. I feel naked without them, because it's just
Is it for phone calls, podcasts, audiobook?
Yeah,
songs?
When I got my first car, it was a Mazda 323, had a sunroof, air conditioning was dropping all 4 windows down at 100 k's an hour, but I had one of those cassette tapes. Do you girls know what a cassette tape is? Yeah, I put a cassette tape in, and it was Zig Ziglar. I found in the uni library, it was this. I bought the cassette, and it was How to Be a Winner by Zig Ziglar, and I reckon I listened to that tape on repeat probably 20 times in the car. And one of the concepts that he talked about was automobile university. So that was pre-YouTube, pre-podcast, pre-everything that we can get content-wise now. And he said, whenever you're in the car, you should never waste an opportunity to treat it like automobile university. So you're in the car anyway, don't listen to talkback radio or whatever, listen to something. And so I just am constantly listening to something, feeding my mind in all different genres. But I think I get irritable and not nice to be around when my mind's wandering. So I just channel it with something to listen to. So that was a long answer to your short question, which was my AirPods.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bryce.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me again.